What is up there, everybody? See Red Sports here with my top 25 preseason poll. This video will be going right up after the Nebraska season predictions video. So from watching that video, you know I don't think Nebraska is a top 25 team this year, but I think we'll be better. So what do I think the top 25 teams are coming from a Nebraska Cornhusker fan's perspective? Well, I've done a lot of research and thought on this, and I have my list here. We're first going to start with some teams that I don't think are going to be in the top 25. I don't think they're going to be deserving of a top 25 spot. And some of these might be a little bit of unpopular choices. So we're going to start with Stanford. I think Stanford's been a bit overhyped. We don't know what we're going to get from Stanford, and they have significant questions at the quarterback position. I don't generally trust teams that don't know what they're going to do at the quarterback position, unless it's an Ohio State or something like that, a team that they know what they're going to do. BYU, they had a legendary season last year, one of the best in program history, but they do lose their star quarterback. He went number 3 overall in the NFL draft, so he must have been pretty good to do that. And they lose some of their other talented players on both offense and defense. Plus, their schedule is much more difficult this season. They had an easy schedule last season. Not the case this season. I don't think Michigan's going to be in the top 25. While I do think they'll be better this season, they're not going to be as terrible as they were last year. I think this is another disappointing season. Missouri is a team that a lot of people are hyping as a contender in the SEC East. While I think they'll be alright, I think last season was almost a little bit of a fluke. They were decent last season. I think they're going to struggle a bit more this season. This will be a season where they come back to reality. It seems like many of the years when Missouri is really hyped, they end up sort of falling flat, and I think this will be that season. And then the next 3, I'm very confident are Oklahoma State, Texas, and UCLA. These are teams that overall are receiving too much hype. Oklahoma State, I think a lot of people realize that this is not a program that's a top 25 team. They might be borderline top 25, but I don't really see them as a top 25 team. I think they will be top 25 at some point in the season because they have an easy start to their schedule. This is a team that I just have stopped buying the hype. I didn't buy the hype last year. I was right. I'm not buying any hype for them this season. They're not any better than they were last season. I think they'll have another decent season, but I just don't buy the Oklahoma State hype. Texas, they have a totally new coaching staff. That's going to be some issues, and I think they actually dropped their first 2 games. I think they actually lose to both Louisiana and Arkansas. And you might say, oh, it's not going to happen. It's Texas, they're super talented, whatnot. But they have a new coach, they have a new offensive scheme, new quarterback. I think they will be good by the end of the year, but I think they will have some struggles early on. I think those first 2 weeks, particularly with that difficult schedule, it's going to be a struggle early on. Then the final team that I think is being overhyped is UCLA. I think they'll be decent. I think Chip Kelly will finally make it to a bowl game with the Bruins, and I think they'll be better. But I don't think they're going to be top 25 good. I see 3 other teams in Pac-12 that are going to be top 25, at least in the South, and 2 teams in the North. I think Pac-12 will be fairly competitive this year. But I don't see UCLA being one of those teams that's going to be in that top tier. So who are some teams I don't have in my top 25 who I would consider putting in? Well, I have a couple Big 12 teams, West Virginia and TCU. I think those are the wild cards to be a lot better than people expected. I think West Virginia, they have some good returning production on offense, but they do lose a lot on defense, so that could be something concerning. TCU, they have some good returning production on offense as well, and I think they could be decent. We'll see if they can return to form, and they're always going to have a good defense, so we know that. Boston College and NC State are 2 teams from the ACC that could be top 25 teams. I think one of them will be a top 25 team. Particularly Boston College has a great schedule that lines up really well for them, as does NC State, but NC State also has good return production, and they tend to be on this borderline top 25 area anyway, so there's definitely something that could happen for them. Kansas State, another Big 12 team that I think could be decent. I think they're actually probably going to go 7-5, but this is definitely a team that could be a surprise to a lot of people. Kentucky is another team that could be better than people expected. I really like the transfers they picked up in the offseason, and starting quarterbacks. Yeah, even though he's going to be untested, they tend to do really well in college football, their first freshman season. So I think Kentucky has the potential to be a top 25 team. I'm not going to start them ranked there, but I do think they will be ranked in the top 25 at some point. And then finally, we have Coastal Carolina, a team that has a really easy schedule, which is the only reason why I haven't put them in the top 25 yet, because I don't really know how they're going to perform when they play better competition. I think Louisiana is actually going to be better than Coastal Carolina this season, despite the harder schedule. We'll have to wait and see. I think Coastal Carolina is going to be pretty decent and will surprise some people. Starting with our top 25, we're going to start at number 21 to 25. At 25, I have Ole Miss. This is a team that I'm very high on. We know the offensive capabilities, and during the offseason, they have gotten some great recruiting talent on the defense and have gotten some good transfers. So I expect this Ole Miss defense to improve, which I think will be just enough for them to win some games to get it into the top 25. UCF at 24, they have a new coaching staff with Gus Malzahn coming over from Auburn. And we have seen with Auburn and with Gus Malzahn that his first seasons at a place are often really good. And I think UCF has a top 25 season. They have a lot of talent. They have a lot of offensive talent. And at this point, they have become a good Group of 5 brand school. And I think they have a good season. Number 23, Arizona State. Despite the NCAA violations, they have a lot of talent. And I think they are one of the top 3 teams in the Pac-12 South. However, I do not have them winning it. You'll have to take a look at my rankings to see who I actually think will win it. Number 22, we have Florida. This is a team that I think is going to be decent. The Florida team we saw in that, I think it was Orange Bowl against Oklahoma, is going to be the Florida team we see this season. I don't think they're going to be anywhere near as good on offense, and I think the defense is going to be pretty bad. I think Florida actually drops off a good bit this season. I do think this will be Dan Mullen's last year in Florida. They'll still be good. They'll still make it to a decent bowl game, maybe even a New Year's Six bowl, but I don't think they'll be as good as they have been in recent seasons. Their schedule does line up for them pretty well though, so they could probably still win 9 games, but I think they'll probably go 8-4. I think they'll lose to somebody they shouldn't. Number 21, we have Iowa. They're going to be a good team this season, but I think they're overhyped as there are some questions. I don't really trust Spencer Petras at the quarterback position, and they lose several players on the defensive and offensive line. Yes, they have the running back returning, but their tight end and wide receiver room is actually fairly thin this year. I think they're actually going to struggle on offense compared to what a lot of people expect. I think they'll be good, but I don't think they'll be as good as some people think they will be. Number 16 through 20, you can see I have Washington at 20. This will be a pretty decent team. It'll be interesting to watch how good some of these teams are. In fact, where I currently think some of these teams are could change, because I think by the first 3 weeks, we are going to know how good some of these teams here are. We're going to know how good Washington is. We're going to know how good USC, Indiana, Liberty, some of the other teams on here are by the first 3 weeks. But these are just my gut feelings, my predictions. I think Washington is going to have a decent season, but I'm not sure where to put them. So I put them here. At 19 and 18, we have 2 Group of 5 teams who are Liberty and Louisiana. Liberty is a rising program, and I think they're going to be pretty decent under Hugh Freeze. And then Louisiana at 19th. They have been a program that's been winning 10 games for the last several seasons. A lot of people don't realize this, but Louisiana has been winning 10 plus games since 2018. A lot of people don't realize that, but they won 10 plus games for 3 seasons straight. And I think they do it again this season. And I think they surprise some people. I think they are the best team in the Sun Belt. Number 17, we have Indiana. I don't think last season's team was a fluke. After the way Indiana just throttled Nebraska in 2019, I was like, yeah, that Indiana team, they're going to be good. I think they are here to stay. So this Indiana team, yeah, they have a more difficult schedule, but I think they're going to be better than people expect. USC, I have at number 16. They're going to be a decent team once again, but I just do not trust Clay Helton and that team. I just don't trust USC. I think they will underperform to what their talent level is. Number 11 through 15, you can see this is where I have LSU and Penn State. I think both these teams will have a bounce back year, but I think one of these teams will have a great bounce back year. I don't know which one it'll be. Something tells me I think LSU has a better chance of having a great bounce back year. They have a better chance going 10-2 than Penn State does just because of the talent. I have Penn State ranked ahead of Indiana because I think Penn State wins the head-to-head matchup. And I think both teams bounce back, but I think LSU is the team more likely to bounce back, but I'm not sure. So that's why I have these teams where they are, but I think both will probably be top 25 teams. Miami, another team I'm not exactly sure what to do with, just because they're going to be good, right? But we don't know how good they are. I just have them here because I think they're going to be a good team once again, but I just have some question marks. Number 12 is Oregon. They have a little bit of fall, I think, this year. They have questions at the quarterback position. They have a lot of talent, but last year they kind of struggled. I think this year they get back on their feet, but they have a difficult schedule, a sneakily hard schedule, and I think they drop a few games. I think they still win the Pac-12 North because they tend to be good in those big games that they know they need to win. I think they do drop a couple surprise games. Texas A&M is at 11. I think they'll be a good team once again this year. If Hayden King is amazing at quarterback, then I'll put them in the top 5. That's just how good this team could be. Because they're good at every other position. They have a great head coach who did win a national championship at Florida State. They just need to figure things out at quarterback. And if they do, they are to the races, on their way to making it to the playoffs here in the very near future. However, I think he will have some struggles early on. They might lose a game they shouldn't. Cracking my top 10, you can see who I have in the top 10. I have a couple surprises here. You might notice some teams that you expect. Iowa State, we know what they're going to do at number 6. Number 8 is North Carolina, not a huge surprise there. Number 10, I have Notre Dame. This could be a team that could do worse or better than 10, but 10 just felt like about the right spot for them. They do have a difficult schedule, but I think they overcome that schedule. Notre Dame does get transfer quarterback Jack Cohn, which I know a lot of people are not very high on, but keep in mind, he is a system quarterback, which means he's actually going to be pretty good at what he does. He's going to fit the type of system that Notre Dame has very well. And those kind of quarterbacks can often do better than a lot of people realize. A lot like Ian Book, maybe not super talented, but he fit really well in the scheme that Notre Dame runs. I think Jack Cohn will do that as well. I think Notre Dame will be a bit better than a lot of people expect. This is where I put Utah and Wisconsin. I put Utah at 9, Wisconsin at 7. I think these will be two of the big surprise teams of college football this season. I think Wisconsin wins 10 or 11 games, makes it to the Big Ten title game, and I think they're going to be fantastic this year. I think they're going to be really good this year. They have a really potent offense, plus their classically good defense. It's going to be very difficult for anyone to beat them this season. And Utah, I have them winning the Pac-12. I have them winning the whole thing. I think Charlie Brewer is one of the most underrated transfers of the entire offseason. He fits very well in the Utah system. And remember, in 2019, he did have an 11-win season with Baylor. I think we see another similar thing where Utah has an 11-win season. So, moving up to my top 5. This is a top 5 that pretty much everybody has. I have Oklahoma, Ohio State, Georgia, Alabama, Clemson. So pretty much everybody has this top 5, but I'm going to explain why I have this in the order that I have this. Clemson, I have this gut feeling that it's their season to win the national title, and I do have them beating Georgia in week 1. So I think they're the best team in the country. Alabama, yeah, they lost a lot of people from the national championship team, but don't they do that every year? And then they're right back there again, and I think Alabama is right there. Georgia, I have at number 3. I think they are neck and neck with Alabama. They have better senior talent, but they're not as talented as Alabama. They're not as good defensively as Alabama, but I think Georgia's offense will be a bit better. So it'll be interesting to see how these two teams do this season, and I do think Georgia has potential to win the SEC this season. I'm just not sure. Ohio State, I have at 4. A lot of people are concerned about this team, and I am as well. I think they're 4th or 5th. I think Oklahoma and Ohio State are in a similar position, but Oklahoma is more sore on offense. Ohio State, though, has more potential. They have a better defense. They have better talent at the quarterback position. They have 4 guys who could start for them. I don't think that's ever going to happen again at any other major program, thanks to NIL and the instant transfer portal. But this season, I think we'll see several people start for Ohio State. I do think CJ Stroud, though, has the job. And I think he's going to do just fine. I don't think he's going to be maybe Justin Fields, but he'll be good. And that's all you need at Ohio State, to be good, and you'll have a great season. Oklahoma at 5. I do think this is a great season and a great year for Oklahoma, but I think they're a bit overhyped. It seems like Oklahoma, almost every single season, has all this hype going into the season, and then they sort of disappoint somewhere. And I think that happens to Oklahoma. I think they slip up somewhere in the season, but I still think they make the playoff. I think they're good enough to make the playoff, and I think they're good enough to win a playoff game. But I have some question marks about this team. I want to see them in some games before I make my decision, and I want to see them against some good opponents. But Oklahoma, I think they'll make the playoff. I think they'll be good. I think it'll be one of either Ohio State, Georgia, or Alabama who misses out on the playoff. I'm not sure who will be yet, but we'll find out. But those are my top 25 teams. Let me know what your top 25 is. I'm sure you'll tell me how wrong I am in the comments or whatnot, but I am pretty confident on these picks. So, what do you guys think of the list? And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. Have a great rest of your day.